is going on, everyone? My name is Sanjay Jenkins, and I have Jordan Hayes here with me. And today, we are going to do a fun little CRO breakdown, but probably at a level of depth that we've never done before over at Replo. So before we go into all of the nuances of what we're going to cover today, I just want to introduce Jordan really quickly. Jordan runs an ad agency, a growth agency, specifically for 7 and 8 figure Shopify brands. And what I love about that is, he's working with some of the best, people that really, really want to know how to scale, and are willing to commit to all of the, the nuances, the taking things to 11, going into the nth degree of every little thing, optimizing every piece of their funnel, their ad creative, etc. And they're committed to that. And I think it's just a completely different experience. You learn a lot more stuff. And I've just been able to see some of the stuff that Jordan and his team have been able to pull off as far as growth. So, Jordan, it's great to have you. I'm really excited for this conversation. How are things going, man? How are things in the growth world?
Doing great. It's great to be here. Thanks for the intro, Sanjay. Yeah, we're gearing up for Q4. It's not far away from us at the moment. So
Yeah.
a lot of planning. We always find that if you plan early, you get ahead, then it tends to be, a successful one.
One of the things I was always surprised by, when I first started out, when I was a very, very green e-commerce person, I'm if you start planning for Q4 in September or October, and no, you really need to be planning in the summertime, in, June, July, August. A lot of times, the really best brands, I would imagine, have their offers, their strategy, all the creative, everything kind of locked in, inventory plans ready around this time. Is that, I'm assuming that's what you do and you see as well, right?
Yeah, I like to see that the other big sale events throughout the year, 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day is coming up soon. We're just talking US brands. Those are almost like testing grounds for your offers. You want to, obviously Q4, Black Friday, you want the best offer. You want to make sure your offer hits really well. So we like to use those other, peaks in the year to test those offers. And, is it a percentage off that works better? Is it more you buy, more you save kind of offer, bundles? So yeah, it's good data for us throughout the year so that when it comes to planning time, we have, that data to leverage.
I'm glad you brought up offers. I know it's going to be a big part of today's conversation. So before we get too deep into that, so I know I'll go down that rabbit hole. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. Let's actually kind of give the people a little peek of what we're actually doing here during this little yap session that we got going on. So we're going to do a CRO teardown. So we're going to go look at a brand. We're going to look at what they're doing well, what they can improve on. Jordan's going to call out some of the opportunities that they have. And, based on the notes that I'm looking at, there is a lot of really great stuff. He's going to go into a level of depth again that I just don't think we get to go into that often. And that's really exciting. There's a lot of learnings that we're going to unlock here on, how to structure landing pages, how, you make sure that your landing pages match up to your ads, call that congruency. And then time willing, we're going to get really deep into offers. There's a ton of really cool stuff that Jordan and his team have put together on offers. And so I'm excited to see that. The brand that we're going to talk about today is called Pretty Boy. It's a skincare company. It's a men's moisturizers and just skincare in general. Jordan, you want to give us a little bit about your hot take on Pretty Boy in general? And then we can go into, we can get into this.
For sure. Yeah. So I'm sure you guys know skincare is one of the most competitive markets out there. It's very low barrier to entry. The upside is that the margins are great. And if you have a really good product and a really good offer, you can create, recurring revenue through subscribers. So the good thing about today and going through Pretty Boy is that they're doing a lot of things right. So I love, we're creating videos like this, showing what they're actually doing, what the opportunities are, showing examples and visuals, right? Rather than us just talking about it. So what we can do here is I can share my screen. I can show you the landing pages that they're already running, what they're doing well. And we'll just stick with, for the first half of this video at least, the just landing pages and formats before we dive into offers. And what I'll do is I'll share kind of the like how we look at landing pages, how we approach it, how we look at the like the specific customers we're trying to target and convert. So yeah, does that sound good?
Let's do it, man. Let's get into it.
All right. So starting with the landing pages that they're already running, um, just moving to this one right here. They're running this bundle offer, which is great because with skincare, the thing that I see the most is that creatives, I mean, UGC, statics, you tend to crack creative pretty early on. But where the difference comes in these skincare brands is conversion rate, AOV, and then ultimately that recurring revenue on the back end. So with this bundle offer, it's great because they're trying to increase AOV. They're driving them to a pretty, like, I guess, optimized PDP version of a landing page, where they're introducing the skincare starter kit, and then they're really just going through like before and afters. The thing that's great about Pretty Boy is they have a lot of these, and I'd say if you're, regardless of what your brand is, if you try and create some sort of before state and after state, and you can really get creative with this. Like if you're, I don't know, selling clothing, like True Classic does a great job at showing people wearing baggy tees versus wearing tees that fit them, right? So it's just a way of showing a customer where they might be right now and where they can get to if they use the product. So these are great. Really, a page like this is optimized to answer questions that the customer has as they're scrolling down. And it's more for customers who are at the more aware stages of a market, right? So they're already very educated. They don't need a lot of education on like what skincare is and you know why they should be using skincare. It's more like why they should be purchasing from this brand over Kiehl's, for example, that's shown here, right? Um, so I want to dive a little bit into those customer stages of awareness, just explain what that is. But Sanjay, just wanted to, I guess, open up if you had any thoughts on this, like build your like this bundle page at the moment.
No, I mean I love this. So like obviously they're using it's a product page, but it's using like a lot of the best practices I would say
Yep.
on what a landing page or what a really effective page has. I've got we've got like a document that I'm sure we can just like add to the description of this video that goes over like the six core elements of a great landing page. There's the social proof. There's like really clear example like comparison chart, what you're actually
Yep.
getting when you buy this thing, and this page has all of those things. To your point, it does a great job of answering the questions that are in the mind of the customer. Why should they buy this? Why should they buy this instead of something else that they were going to buy? I think what something I'll just call out in skincare in general. I've spent a lot of time in women's skincare, much more so than men's, and with women's skincare, the competition is like all the other brands that are like vying for that same mind share, those same dollars.
Yep.
With men, a lot of times you're actually trying to compete against having no habit at all, having no like just not moisturizing. A lot of dudes are dry. A lot of dudes just be dry, just be a little crispy. And so I think this page does a really good job of like not only like explaining like why you should use it relative to others, but also why you should use like a moisturizer in general. So I wanted to call that
Yeah.
out really quickly, but no, I think you covered it, man. I think this is just a really a well done page. I think it hits. It has all of the key elements of why of what makes a great landing page, great like conversion touch point. But let's go. So,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I think you're about to talk about like all the different stages. I want to get into that because, for me, like,
Yeah.
I think you mentioned this is like a really great like kind of middle to bottom of funnel page, and I want to know how you would shift it or what you would do differently for skincare, especially for the top of funnel stages, like the initial awareness. Like, how are you getting someone who's not maybe even problem aware to become aware of the
Yeah.
problem and then be aware of the solution. So let's
Of
go into
course.
the funnel stages, man.
Yeah. And just before, because this will help tie in later. like Pretty Boy, they know who they're talking to. Like they have a specific customer type, and you'll see more of that in a moment. But as you said, Sanjay, like you're competing against no habit at all. I would also say that if men are using skincare, it's likely that it's from the local drugstore, something that they could pick up easy, and you can see by the brands that they're comparing to, Cetaphil, CeraVe, Olay, like these are all brands you can pick up at the drugstore. They're not
Yep.
necessarily other D2C competitors. Whereas the women's skincare is like this. I think it's a customer that's a lot more sophisticated, right?
Hmm.
So another thing here is this social proof. I do know this guy is huge on social media. They should be leveraging this more. Maybe adding the number of followers he has. Like a lot, like men are not going to know who this guy is. Only if you're like in skincare
In
world
the
and
game,
in
yeah.
e-commerce. Yeah. So I think there's a big opportunity here to say, certified by this dermatologist, but who is Luke Maxfield? Well, he has like these qualifications and he has this many followers, and it just adds a little bit more depth to this recommendation. And then I think adding it further up the page as well to try and lower that barrier in the customer's mind sooner.
I actually, I've never really thought about like adding an influencer's like follower account to a landing page. But I think like especially in a case like this, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like I don't know who that is, but if you were to say this guy has 3 million followers, and he's a dermatologist, like a
Yeah,
board certified dermatologist, like that is a ton of not only like medical validation, right? Because he's a doctor and he's a dermatologist,
yeah,
but also like some like a massive social proof. So
for sure.
I mean, I don't know if it always works adding, the follower count, but I think to your point, it would actually probably crush here. That's actually a pretty great idea.
Yeah, it's authority, it's trust, it's triggering all those like psychological those things that we have wired into our brain. And especially if you say that this guy, he also focuses on men's skincare, like he's helping men, discover skincare and ultimately what Pretty Boy are trying to do, like tying that in. Like one thing that like an easy win is like adding this into the like product image gallery. Whenever we have looked at just heat maps, we use Microsoft Clarity with our clients. It's a free heat mapping tool and session recordings. Whenever we look at those heat maps and session recordings on product pages, on landing pages that have something like this with an image gallery, we always see these like lit up. Like they're the most one of the most clicked on areas is like these thumbnails or like the arrow to go to other ones. So what we've done with a lot of clients is we've optimized this area specifically to add things like this in
Hmm.
infographics, right? Because you have this real estate now. Don't just show images, but show images with these benefits, right? Show different features. Like here we have a two-in-one, right? So another one could be adding the dermatologist here, adding his qualifications, adding the followers, and then a quote to say that he recommends it or something like that.
This is this is one of the most underutilized things that I see. Like looking at like a couple hundred pages every few days. This like you have this gallery, people are clicking through it, and a lot of times like they just have you know looking at the image on the screen, just the product being put into the little cleansing tool, but they don't have any of the like the infographic material outside of it. And while it might be a compelling image, this image where it says 2-in-1 gentle face cleanser, it's got the two-step, the 100% money back guarantee, which is a it's a symbol of trust. The 5 stars, social proof, like that is 100x more valuable image than just having the product image. And
Yeah,
I think it's like I think the more direct response you go, the more you start to see these things. And if you're not, utilizing stuff like this right now, I highly recommend you do so because it is it's the most game changing. It's like the easiest leverage. It's free real estate. It's literally free real
yeah,
estate. So absolutely, like it's a great call out, man.
yeah. And just a quick one. I don't want to hop on this topic, but I think it's important. Is if you look at mobile, if I just see how these guys have structured this on mobile, so this as well, like the fact that customers like swipe through. left to right. Like if you look at Instagram and you look at the way that they've transitioned, when you can have those posts that have multiple
Hmm.
images and multiple videos in one, and you swipe to the right and you see those dots. So Instagram has trained us as users to like swipe right to see more, right?
Yep.
So you don't even like on mobile, you don't even need thumbnails. Like these dots can be enough, maybe a left or right arrow. But it's really interesting to look at Instagram because obviously they're spending so much money on optimizing their platform, optimizing user experience to keep people on the page. So it's a really interesting thing that we like to keep in mind. Just reduce cognitive load, which is also something that we look at. But yeah, if you look at that and also look at Instagram Shop,
Hmm.
something else that they poured a lot of money into to optimize the experience. TikTok Shop as well. It's good to mimic that in a certain way.
It's not always like it's not 100% effective, but if you can take the lessons and the hundreds of millions of dollars of A/B testing that brands like Instagram and TikTok and Amazon have done, and apply some of those principles, those lessons to your pages, most of the time you're going to find your conversion rates are going to improve. And I think, this is like a great example of this, just the carousel and the swipe. And I know as soon as I see, sometimes I'll do it without even realizing it. Like I'll see a carousel or I'll see a post from someone that, it's like, I'm like, whatever, like I don't really care. But because I see those dots, I'm like always going to go look through those other photos. It's
Yeah,
just baked into our behavior now, really.
yeah, that's it. So let's switch gears. Let's talk about the formats of page for the other segments of the market. So quick background, and I think this will help as well. Like I recently created this for a YouTube video, but I think it'd be helpful. Uh, so when you're talking about building eight-figure landing pages, we always start with the format of the page itself. And we really split them up into these like listicle, inverted PDP, advertorial. I guess this one is more of like a PDP itself that they're using as a landing page. Um, but we categorize them into these three. So listicle and inverted PDP landing pages, those formats, they work best for these stages of awareness. And when you're talking about stages of awareness, there's 5 stages. Every market has different users, different potential customers in each stage. The reason why these stages exist is because you have people who are, for example, most aware. Those are the people that they're already using men's skincare, they already have a routine, they likely already have products from another D2C brand, but you're trying to convince them why they should purchase yours instead, right? And that's like the top of the market, the top percentage of the market, but it's also the smallest. So as you go to the less aware stages, which is product aware, solution aware, we also have problem aware and unaware, right? Which I'll get into in a moment. You reach bigger pools, but they're harder to convert, right? So that's really when a lot of brands struggle to scale is likely because they're capping out the most aware and product aware stages of the market. And they need to start expanding to the less aware stages through different angles, different
Hmm.
experiences with landing pages and education. So a page like this, as I mentioned, when we went through it, would work well for someone at the most aware product aware stage, right? Product aware means that you already know about Pretty Boy, you likely have seen their ads, you've been targeted before, and this is an offer. This skincare starter kit is an offer to get you over the line, right? A little bit social proof, a little bit of a push, and that's going to get you to pull the trigger, make the purchase. So this is where we see listicles and ready PDPs work best. And you can scale a lot just by doing these, right? Because these are still big segments of the audience. A lot of it depends on your TAM, which is your total addressable market size, which for skincare and men's skincare would be pretty big. It also depends on how many countries you're selling to as well. But as I said, as brands continue to scale, they start reaching more and more people in the more aware stage of the market, and then they begin to see plateaus, right? So the solution here is to expand and target those less aware audience stages of the market, and that's where advertorials come in. So the reason why I love advertorials is because they're specifically designed to go after these less aware stages of the market, right? Solution aware, problem aware, and unaware. And we're going to focus in on these solution-aware, problem-aware stages in this video, and I'm going to show you an example of an advertorial that does a great job at targeting those that are problem and solution-aware, and what it does to take them through to the stage where they are no longer in this stage, but more so in the product-aware stage, right? So Sanjay, I can go into a little about the reason why advertorials work and share an example, but anything you want to add at this point?
Yeah, yeah, no, I want to add something. So, Taylor Welch, who's like a big, I don't know, internet traffic funnels guru type guy. I was in one of his programs years ago, and he said something that was really interesting about this, like kind of the market stages, right? Uh, the top, the most aware, where they not only know your product, but they know like they understand like the your offer, even like the most aware. It's like 3% of the market on average.
Yeah.
And more like the most people like try to just go after that 3% in any given market. And as you try to expand, you're obviously like as you mentioned, it gets harder and harder to like educate these people and get them pulled up. And something he said was basically your marketing at that stage, as you're really trying to scale, is you're trying to turn people into your best customers. So initially, when you're first starting out and you're just trying to get the top 3%, your marketing is to capture the best customers. And as you start to scale, you're actually trying to create your best customers. And I think that was like the biggest shift. And I know, like, because I'm very bullish on advertorials when it's skincare or supplements. Like, I think advertorials are the most, again, like underutilized tactic, but they're some of the most effective ROI generators. So yeah, like let's jump into advertorials. Like break that down for us. Explain a little bit in greater detail on what exactly advertorials are and how people can use advertorials to create their best customers.
Yeah, of course. So before we look at an example, the reason why advertorials do a great job at moving people from less aware stages to more aware stages of the market is because their style and format is, first of all, familiar to that of an editorial piece. You'll see why in just a moment. It's something that customers are used to seeing when they're researching or reading up on things they don't know a lot about, right? So it's unthreatening. It doesn't seem like a brand is trying to sell you on something. It seems like you are learning about something, right? And that is actually the case. And the second reason why advertorials are great is because you just have more room to write more words, right? So as a result, you take the reader through a journey from their current stage of awareness to a more aware stage, and you do that through education. We're going to get into the challenges with advertorials in a moment, but let me show you guys an example of how this looks. So
one thing I'm going to call out really quickly
yeah,
is you're going to see a lot of text. And one of the number one pushbacks that I get whenever I recommend an advertorial is people don't read long copy. And I will 100% of the time say your buyers do. So just keep that in mind. If you're skeptical about the effectiveness of this, I promise you, your buyers are actually reading this. But all right, let's look at this. I'm excited to see this advertorial.
yeah. So you're completely right, Sanjay. Like if someone is experiencing a problem and it's a big enough problem, they will stop and read, right? So this one here is for a leg massager, and the headline is Top Doctor of Physical Therapy. This is the best way to relieve edema in your legs and feet fast. So straight away, we can see that they're targeting someone who's already aware of the problem, right? Because they're mentioning the problem in the headline. And I would say that this advertorial caters to both a problem-aware stage and a solution-aware stage, because people with this problem, they likely have to go to a doctor, some sort of physiotherapist to relieve pain. Maybe they have to take some medication, and that is a solution, but maybe not the solution they want, right? So they're already aware that there's a solution to the problem, but it's also problem aware because the fact that they haven't found an alternative solution that maybe is a little bit more natural, a little bit less invasive, is the problem itself, right? So hopefully that makes sense. But an advertorial always follows this sort of structure and framework. So you can see that it looks like an editorial piece. It looks like something that you would read from a news press publication, and it's designed exactly like that. So we're going to go through that quick skim of the structure, and then we're going to look deeper into the content itself. So typically with advertorials, like headline, subheadline, there's always some sort of before and after graphic that visually shows usually the use of 3D, the use of X-rays, which we'll see them use in just a moment, like this kind of thing. It works really well to visualize what is this about, and visualizing for the customer, like meeting them where they're at, right? If someone is experiencing this problem, then they'll know exactly what the images are referring to, and then this is going to intrigue them. So we like to look at like this part here, including the images, is like the hook for your ad creative video. You need to give people a reason to stay and read on. So you should treat your landing pages like you treat ad creatives, meaning you need to hook people in, and then you also need to retain their attention. And that's where the rest of the advertorial comes in. So underneath the image itself, the graphic, we always have some sort of author, right? This company is using a doctor for authority. Great idea, especially when it's a medical related product. You know, for Pretty Boy, using the dermatologist, using some sort of skin doctor is a great idea because it gives you instant authority. Now, you don't always have to use an authority figure. It could just be someone, you know, it's just someone's name, but it just lends a little bit of, I guess, it looks like the editorial, right? That's what we're trying to get after. There's also the date here. Yeah, do you want to add something?
Yeah, so I ran an advertorial so for a supplement company for women, and their number one supplement was a debloat pill. And the founder, she was like I think she had like 600, 800,000 followers, and the supplement company was born out of her personal journey in like, reducing puffiness and, all sorts of other negative effects that were happening to her body, and we wrote the advertorial like in her voice. So sometimes it could be like a founder perspective, depending on like if your product is solving something specific to you. I know in Replo's like template library, we have the on it advertorial, and the kind of the angle there. It's like written by someone else, but it's referencing Joe Rogan a lot because Joe Rogan's like one of the big proponents. So it's not like his voice, but it's still kind of like using his social proof. So there's a lot of different ways you can slice it, but like that's a subtle thing. The author piece is a subtle thing, but you'd be very surprised at how much it impacts your conversion rate. So yeah, I'll let you keep going now. This is awesome. I'm so glad we're doing this deep dive on advertorials because it's been a very long time since I've talked about this. And this is let's keep rocking, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, and that's a great point as well. Using the founder if it makes sense. So now getting into the meat of the advertorial, the body section it's really a combination of text where we're using the text to take the customer through a journey, but also the imagery. The imagery is really, really important because sometimes, most of the time, customers are going to also skim through this a little bit. What they might do is they'll skim through it, they'll see graphics, and they'll be like, oh, wait, this, like, I should read this. And then they'll go back to the top and then they'll start reading. So if you show things like this, like the progression of how edema happens, I don't, is it edema or edema?
Edema is, I mean, I know, edema. I think it's how it's pronounced in the United States. It might be different elsewhere, right. But yeah.
We'll go with edema, but you can see how like the progression, if someone has experienced it, they know this, right? And it's just very like, you could say like shocking visuals work really well because you want to stop and grab attention, right? So you can see that the structure here is always text, image, text, image, text, image down the page, right? It breaks it up nicely. And there's never really a huge chunk of text that you have to work your way through. There's always the imagery to support it and break it up a little bit, right? Then what happens is eventually the product is introduced, and then it's always backed up by some sort of social proof and trust. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into this, but just to show you guys high level, this is introducing the product and then immediately Trustpilot reviews, right? Images of customers wearing it, longer format reviews, something that you would see on Amazon, for example, right? Even up 76 people found this helpful. Like all of these little things, they may seem small, but they're all adding up to create deeper trust signals in the customer's mind. Like a lot of this is really, really interesting if you're interested in consumer psychology, but trying to mimic websites like Amazon, we spoke about Instagram before and mimicking the experience, it just creates familiarity as well. So before and afters, again, just thinking about Pretty Boy and skincare, before and afters again, like when you have a product that has a very clear problem solution before and after state, advertorials work even better. Like Sanjay said, skincare, supplements, but I've even seen brands. Blissey, there's a brand selling pillowcases. They use advertorials, and yeah, they've been able to do that successfully by relating your current pillowcase to the new pillowcase, and that is a before and after state. So you can still get creative, and yeah, eventually then they're talking about like how do you actually get this product, the offer itself, and they're going a lot into the urgency and scarcity. So we could sell out tomorrow is the scarcity in number of units. They are one thing I like that this brand does is they say you cannot get it anywhere else. You can't get it on Amazon, can't get it on eBay, because what people will do more times than not is they will, once they know that this product exists, they're going to say, hang on, let me just hop over to Amazon to see if it's cheaper, right? Or to see if I can get it faster. So brands that do advertorials well, what they do is they do this thing called dispelling other options, meaning we are putting down and saying you can't get it on Amazon. There's a brand, Pet Lab Co. Maybe I can pull up their advertorial as well.
Oh, they're crushing it, man. They are crazy with advertorials.
Yeah. So one thing that they do is they talk about the ingredients in the product, and they say the quality of these ingredients cannot be sourced anywhere else, right? Because they understand that their customers will go and try and buy the separate ingredients on Amazon and save some money or whatever, but they are dispelling the other options as well, right? So brands that do this, they do this really well. They're really successful with advertorials. So then comes the offer. So they're talking a lot about pricing. They're overcoming a lot of objections, and yeah, they have this special limited time discount where you can get it for 50% off. Then the button there links to either the checkout or another offer page where they can select how many they want. So risk reversal, guarantee, and then here's what to do next. They're really taking you through that journey. Option one, option two, it's the direct response here is really, really strong.
It's money, yeah. This is and just to kind of just remind everyone the journey of a buyer here, right? They see an ad, maybe it's like a VSL style ad, or even just like a static that just really reinforces, even the image and the hero of the advertorial page, but just reinforces the real pain, right? It's maybe you don't know that the thing that's happening to your legs is called edema. Maybe you just know my legs are swelling and it hurts, and you see that, so you click through. And as you go through this page, you're learning, oh, the pain that I'm experiencing is edema. Maybe you did know it. You probably do know it if you know. I would imagine most people do for edema. But let's say skincare, right? Oh, why does my face feel the way it does? Or for skincare, or why is my pet acting this way for the Pet Labs Co. I know that's a big angle that they run with, but whatever the case is, here's this problem, here's this thing that I've experienced in the world. Maybe I don't know the exact name for it, but let me see that. You come to this advertorial page, and as you go through, you learn, oh, this thing that I'm experiencing, the problem is called this. Oh, okay, so now I know this problem. What do I do with this problem? What are the solutions? Then, it says, oh, the solutions for solving this are, for this leg massagers, you need type of compression, and maybe there's heat, and maybe it's like a certain
Yeah.
like cycle, and then you're like, oh, okay, like that seems like a lot of stuff. How do I do all that? Like, and then you're like, okay, like you can find some stuff elsewhere, or you can build some contraption yourself, or squeeze your legs regularly, or here's my solution. Here's the solution for you. So you go from not fully knowing exactly what the problem's called to identifying the problem, identifying the solution space, and then presenting your product as the ideal solution. And then after you do that, as Jordan's called, it's like, dispelling like other options. It's saying, hey, like you can't really get this anywhere else. You can't get it on Amazon or eBay, or for the Pet Lab Co. example, like you can't put together the ingredients in the level of quality in the formulation that is most effective like I can.
Yep.
I know Brian Johnson, who's the guy that's trying to live forever. He's got Blueprint. He dropped this like huge video yesterday or today about like cocoa and chocolate, like dark chocolate, and he reviewed all these different like dark chocolate bars. And at the end of it, he's like, "Hey, like here's my product. I put out all the research for you. Here's like everything that you can go figure this out yourself. But I just
Yep.
magic wanded this for you. Here's a solution that's already packaged, that already fits this. But if you really want to go do it yourself, you can." And that's a really powerful angle. So again,
Yeah.
advertorials, that's like the power of advertorials in general. I know, just to be mindful of time, I really want to like, there are a couple more things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And one of the you mentioned this briefly, but I really want to dig into this and get your thoughts on this idea of congruency. And so that's,
Yeah.
high level, it's what you say, what you message in the ad, matching the content that you have, on the landing page. So let's jump into that. Like, tell me a little bit about how you look at congruency, how you're advising your clients, and how you're building things just to be congruent.
Yeah, of course. So when we work with clients, we take care of ad creative, media buying, landing pages, CRO. We like to be full funnel on the customer acquisition side. And the reason why is congruency. The way we see congruency is more so for the stage of awareness. Like we've tested, if we have a specific content creator, John, in a video, we might want to feature his face as one of the first things that someone sees when they land on the landing page, right? We've tested it. In some cases, it works. In some cases, it doesn't really make a difference. It could be interesting if you're very like founder led, you're the face of the brand. I think it's more important, but that's an interesting thing. But what we found has more impact is just making sure that the connection between ad and landing page for the stage of awareness and the specific problem that you're talking about and the way that you're phrasing it is the same. So with this one, Top Doctor of Physical Therapy, the ad itself would probably have a very similar headline. They're probably talking about relieving edema fast, right? They're talking about the speed. They might be talking about an at-home solution that is new and doctors are raving about it, something like that. And they're creating a curiosity gap with the landing page. It just means that they're building up curiosity in the ad, enough for someone to click through. And then the landing page is where, first of all, we want to acknowledge that the customer's in the right place, right? They see this, they're like, okay, it's a safe website, I'm in the right place. It looks very familiar to where I came from. Now let me read, right? So that's really what we found has moved the needle the most, is when you look at it more broad in terms of what is the specific stage of awareness and customer we're going after, but what is the specific headline, either the hook in the video, the angle of the video, or the static, depending on what ad we're using.
I'm actually kind of curious because some people do, some people don't. Do you all do a lot of like VSL stuff? Like like long form? Do any of your clients like running any 40-minute long ads that go to pages?
We haven't done that. It's something that I guess we haven't had to tap into yet, but I do want to do it. It's actually on the roadmap for us this year to start introducing that. Both long format ads, but also a VSL on like a landing page VSL as well, right? So they click through to the landing page. It's also a VSL. And I think you see this a lot in info products. information
Yep.
products is kind of the norm, right? It's like if you don't have a BSL, like what are you doing? Uh, and I think there's a lot of opportunity in e-commerce. It's kind of like a red ocean to blue ocean strategy
Yep.
with those VSLs. That's the way I like to think of it. So yeah, I think if you could put together a VSL, which really would just be, for this brand, they would just take all of this copy and then they would have someone like this doctor saying it on video, right? And as he's talking, they're showing these visuals as B-roll, right?
Hmm.
So it's more just like a sales page. That's what it's a video sales letter, right? A
Yeah.
VSL.
And a
Yeah.
lot of it's like the advertorial content just in a video. I know if you, something that I hear a lot. So even my own girlfriend has told me this is like, oh, I would never watch a 40-minute long ad or never watch a 40-minute long video. And then you look at the data on like consumption of like some of the best VSLs in the world, whether it's in an ad or on a landing page, and you would be shocked at the
Yeah.
performance. Some of the largest companies in supplements, like the Gundry MD, one of the largest supplement
Yeah.
companies in the world. I think at some point they were doing like, I actually don't remember their specific numbers. I'll quote some other numbers, but I know for Gundry, like they will literally run a 40-minute long ad that goes to
Yeah.
like like an offer, like an inverted like PDP page, and it crushes monster campaign. Proactive, like if you're like the skincare company, like the anti-acne skincare company, they did their social proof strategy was let's just get every like celebrity. They were spending I think like $1 million to $2 million a day on TV ads at the peak right before they sold for $1 billion, and they you know same thing, very long video that goes through like
Yeah.
all of the stuff that we talked about with advertorials is the same thing. I know we like kind of like deviating a little bit, but it's something I call out. Like it's something worth talking about. But I think the reason why those things work so well, to go back to the point we were talking about, is the congruency. It's the
Yeah.
message in an ad creative, whether it's a static or 30-second video or something that's 30 minutes long. It's really deeply tied to the content of the page that you send the traffic to.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised at how often people just don't do this. I know it's tougher. It's like material lift, but
Yeah.
not that much, right? Like I wouldn't say that it's that hard to actually do this.
I'd say it is challenging. The reason why it's challenging is because you really have to get the angle right. You have to get
Mm,
you have to be able to hook people in, but you have to be able to hold attention for long enough. And I think this is a great example because there's like a really good breakup of like text image. Some advertorials are like really long text and less images. And I
mm.
think the hardest part is being able to use the right angle, the right headline that's going to hook someone in. Um, but that comes down to testing, right? And a lot of research on your existing customer, understanding who they are, what they value, the problems that they're facing, the, like look at Reddit forums, look on social media, learn about the words that they're using to describe the problem, the failed solutions, other things that they've tried that haven't worked, or maybe they're frustrated with. And with all that data, you can start to put together these hypotheses for, what sort of angles are going to work best for both our ads, but also for, advertorials.
So on the data side, like I know you're using Microsoft Clarity for, which is goated by the way. The fact that it's free and it gives you that like level of value is pretty nuts. But like I know you're using Microsoft Clarity for heat maps and see like where drop off is. How are you looking at like the Clarity data and like stacking it with, let's say, like data coming out of Meta? Like what's your typical workflow? How would you recommend people? Let me ask you a couple of questions. First question is, what's your typical workflow? And then the second question is, how would you recommend people start to like emulate what you do to be effective?
Yeah. So workflow in terms of looking at data, if we're looking like zooming out high level, is this overall funnel working? Which is the way that we see that ad, landing page, and purchase. We use TripleWell with our clients, for example, to track data. And in TripleWell, you could do this inside Meta as well, like in the ads manager, but we're using the data in TripleWell to see conversion rate. And that also gives us an idea of like the full funnel, right? Is this individual funnel, like add to landing page and purchase, is it converting better than, for example, the ad that's sending traffic to a PDP, right? Or a collections page. So that's one benchmark. But when we are looking specifically at landing pages and trying to optimize the landing page to make it even better, Microsoft Clarity is great because the main two things it's known for is session recordings and heat maps. Session recordings are actually real recordings of people interacting with the website, so you can see like how far they get into in the page, where are they bouncing, are they clicking this button, are they clicking the button at the very end, right? Which is here. Like, are they reading? Are they skimming? Like, what are they doing? Right? What is the behavior? Which parts are they spending more time on? Right? Are they pausing on specific areas longer than others? Because if our landing page is not performing, it might be the fact that if they're pausing somewhere, we might want to move that further up, right? To hold attention sooner. You might want to move it more towards like the above the fold. So that's when the session recordings. Heat maps go hand in hand with session recordings because they're more so for clicks, right? So that would just be for us to say, okay, is there anything that people are trying to click that, dead clicks? Maybe they're trying to click these ratings to see, maybe it takes them to the reviews, but they're not going anywhere. So that could be something we could fix. And yeah, again, which buttons are they clicking and what is the most clicked areas of the page? So those two aside, you can also look at things like scroll depth, which give you like a bigger picture view of how far people are scrolling down the page. So we tend to see like around the 30% mark, 35% mark is pretty good as a benchmark. But really that's only going to give you like a high level touch point of how it's performing. Going deeper into session recordings to understand the behavior is where you're really going to get the data, to make those optimizations.
Man, I gotta redo my workflow here. I don't think I look at session recordings as much as I should. That's my key takeaway here. So if you're watching this, listen to what Jordan said, follow his advice, because it's what works, what really works. We're coming up on time, so I wanna kind of close up with if you were Pretty Boy, we've talked a lot about congruency. We've talked a lot about how to look at data. We've talked about advertorials, thinking about what stage of the funnel or the awareness someone is. And we also, like, at the very beginning, we saw that Pretty Boy was using landing pages. I mean, they are doing some of these, a lot of the things right. What's like the one thing that you would recommend to the Pretty Boy team on, hey, this is like the number one opportunity. This is what I would test.
I would identify which customer stage of awareness you want to go after, and then just focus on that stage. Like, don't try and go after every stage. I would say, let's just say you want to go after the problem aware stage. The men that know that they should be using, like, they have acne, they have this kind of problem, they're not really aware like how to solve it. Maybe that's one. Maybe the solution aware, which is, hey, I know that I need to be using skincare. I've maybe used some of my girlfriends here and there. I got this thing from the drugstore. I used it for a week and then stopped using it because it didn't do anything. That is a different segment. I need to speak differently to them. So I'd focus on one of those and go heavy into that. Because when it comes to scale and getting ahead of other brands, what most brands, like, they cap out at the stages that are the smallest, right? The ones that are most aware because they're the easiest to convert. But for a more longevity strategy, definitely going into those less aware stages. Focus on one at a time. Build a strategy with either advertorials, VSLs, like the things that we spoke about today, to just convert that stage, and then that's where the scale is going to come from.
Awesome. All right, and then before we leave the people, how can people find you? How can 7 and 8 figure brands reach out to you and have you do all this magical stuff for their business?
Of course. So we're hazemedia.co. That's our website. You can probably also find me on YouTube, Jordan Hayes. Uh, I'm usually trying to like share a bunch of stuff like this, right? I just sharing what's working for us, also specific case studies, like taking a brand from X to Y and how we did that. Landing pages, CRO, creatives, media buying, all that stuff, even email marketing. So yeah, if you're interested, check it out. We'd love to share more insights with you. Yeah, this has been great.
I highly recommend if you're evaluating agencies right now, go hit up Jordan and his team. They are absolutely crushing it. And if you couldn't tell from the video today, like there's a lot that this man and his team know how to do and can execute on and have been very effective in doing. So definitely go to Hayes Media. We'll make sure all the information in the description. The last thing that I will say before we jump is when we were putting together this video, we had like a preparation doc, and Jordan did all the work here. I did very little, I'll be honest. But there was this whole section on offers that we just didn't get a
Yeah,
chance to cover. So we're gonna have to do another one of these. There's so much really really cool stuff, a lot of gold in the offer content. So we'll do another one of these. Jordan, this has been a ton of fun, man. I am so grateful to have had this conversation with you, dude. It's awesome. Thanks for joining us today, man.
yeah, it's a pleasure. Yeah, happy to share what's working for us, and hopefully it's valuable to the audience.
Absolutely. All right, Replo fam, we shall see you on the next one. We'll talk to you soon.